you, because as you write the paper, it is not only you, because the input, some of them might suggest a good method that you never knew, or they might even suggest some ways for you to help you in order to bring your paper to a logical conclusion. So it means that no matter how harsh the reviewer's comment might be, but there is one secret to use. You have to humble yourself. Every author, you have to humble yourself before a reviewer and an editor, because it's just like your hand is in the mouth of the reviewer and the editor, and you only need to humble yourself, because if you make any, sorry to say, arrogant or proud statement in your response, because it's just like a voting. If I want to vote for your paper, I remove my vote, you will stand at the losing side. So humbleness in research, not because you are not intelligent or your paper is poor, but you must be humble in responding to a reviewer, no matter your excellence. And the second thing I want to talk about is what? You address every comment specifically. So maybe the comment is on the data. They can tell you that your data is limited. You have to find a scientific reason and literature to support the fact that this data I'm using, it is maybe by statistical analysis supported. So for instance, maybe let's use analysis, for example, data is less than 30 observations, and you are pushing such a paper. So you must find a reasonable justification to say that this particular data I'm using, it is acceptable, and you must prove with literature. But so for you to respond in a different way, you can make your paper very in a bad taste before a reviewer. So like I said, respond to every comment individually, address the specific point raised. And my interest is in 3: respectful and professional. You are every author, like I did mention before, don't try to be defensive, no matter what you did. And as a matter of fact, it's not that the reviewers, they themselves, some of them actually do not have good insight in what you have written, but you have to still respect and honor them. But if you want to be too argumentative, defensive, or disagree with some of the comments that are being raised, it means that you will have a bad taste in your paper. Yeah, so you must, one thing I see is that you have to use some scientific reasons. It's just like a judge, a lawyer and a judge. So they use a certain clause, and the defense lawyer or the plaintiff must make sure that this thing I'm bringing up, there are evidence to what I am saying. You must even present it very respectful. That's why you always see lawyers, judges saying that respectful and my lord and stuff like that. Just not to, is to make themselves low, right? So this particular point, please take note of it. It's very important for your paper to go. Your paper can be the most excellent one, but if your response to a reviewer are argumentative, defensive, and stuff like that, your paper can be withdrawn, even if it goes through a review process. So I want to talk about also the 4. Then ensure that your responses are clear, concise, and focused on addressing the reviewer's concerns. These 4 also takes us back to what I talked about in the process. Like after writing, you have to do a proofreading. You have to do a proofreading and editing, because every comment that you make or your response if you make a mistake, it means that it is going against you. Even you have to make sure that your responses to a reviewer are more sacrosanct as even compared to what you have in your original paper. So the way they ask you the question, the way you present it, that is what they are going to look at. Me, for instance, if I review a paper, it comes back to me, the first thing I'm going to look out for is your responses, not what you have done. I look at the responses. How do you respond to the comments? If your comments are divisive, defensive, argumentative, and all sort of words like that, even that alone can piss off a reviewer or an editor, not to go even further, to read even what you have done. So here is just, it's something that we all have to, as researchers, I know many of you being reviewers here. Like I said before, I might not have been the best person to make this presentation because I know some people are better up than me, but it's just that, like I said, I was honored to have been called to do this, and I'm glad for that. So I talk about the fifth one, also explain unaddressed comments and seek further clarifications. Because a reviewer, an editor may ask certain questions which you have no clue about. Meaning that, but you cannot send it back like that. You have to explain every unaddressed comment. Maybe I don't understand this comment, or yeah, this is how you can say it. I don't understand. Maybe you may, please, can you restate it? But mind you, if you have done most of the comment that have already been done, but it is only one or two, and your responses are respectful and professional, even if you don't or
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I think our moderator has a challenge with his network, so he will get back to us soon. So, whilst we are waiting for him, if you have any questions that you like to ask him, you can drop those comments at the chat section. I can see some of our brethren are giving some questions and answers are flowing over there. You can also drop yours as well. If the DJ is there, he can give us some cool music whilst we wait for our moderator to come or take over.
me know where exactly I was not being heard further. Hello?
I think we were dealing with the point we are avoiding becoming defensive and argumentative.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. And I really do apologize for it. Just the network has gone bad. So, and like I said, that is one thing that I'm hammering so much on, that as researchers, please do take note of it. You may not have the best of paper, but your responses to reviewers and editors can cause your paper to go through, not because your paper is very poor, but as a matter of fact, it is part of the process. It is part of the process. Yes. So I will not talk so much on it. I'll go briefly to the fourth one and ensure that your responses are clear, concise, and focus on addressing the reviewer's comments or concerns. Yes. So this is just some of them. These points are just like a directive, not to explain much on it. And I was talking about explain unaddressed comments. Unaddressed comments are comments that you have no idea about. But brothers and sisters, let me put this across. And here, even if a reviewer gives you a comment, you have no idea about it. This is where your friends and some professors or people you do know that they have a good understanding of the area is where you have to go to them. Please, this is a comment or a suggestion a reviewer has made, and I cannot address it. Is it possible that you can be of help to me? So after, if you let someone do it for you, as you submit it, the reviewer or the editor knows not who did it for you. So you have to use every resources within your means in order to get your paper through. So there should not just be an issue of what? Unaddressed comments. Make sure that all comments are addressed before you submit. Even if you realize that it's going beyond the time, the only thing you can do is that you can write to the journal, maybe through your professor, or if you are the corresponding author, you can write to the editor asking for an extension of time in the review process. It is permissible and allowed. So don't give your responses and your revised paper back to the journal without addressing comments, because it might affect the process or the advancement of your paper. So use every resource within your means. It's an advice I'm giving. Every resource within your means in order to get every issue addressed. All right. So I will talk about the last part. Express willingness to revise further. This means that maybe if a comment comes, you can just say that this is how best to the author's, ability and our resources we can, work on the paper or revise it. However, if the comments do not meet your expectation, we are more than willing to receive further comments in order to work on it. So like I said, when I get a review comment comes, the first point I have to read is your responses. How are your responses? So before I go further to now review the paper itself. So this is just something a clue for you. If your paper go under review and come, you must make sure that the paper gets to publication, and make sure it's your comments and your responses to the reviewers and editors will see to it ability to go through. All right. So I want us to have a sample of reviewers' comment, right? So we will do that in brief. Because of the time, I don't know if I will go through the whole thing. No, as I talked about clarity in the first presentation, we're talking about clarity, logic, and methodological rigor. So just take note as I read some of these comments. Yeah, so the first one is saying that the content of the abstract should be checked carefully again. In line 26, the suggestion of renewable purchase obligation is already in place. So meaning that this, it's just like a proposal, or the researchers are saying that we make a proposal or recommendation. You are recommending, and already the case is already, in place. This particular issue, what renewable purchase obligation, is already in place, and you are recommending it in your abstract. That is just like, call it a dead goat. A goat is already dead, and you want to kill it again, right? So this reviewer is able to know that this issue is already dealt with, or you have to change it and give a different, revision or recommendation at all. In this statement, and so this statement has to be re-evaluated. Also check line 32 as essential for faster renewable penetration. So it means a statement there has to also be looked at. So this particular reviewer has to start from the intro, that is the abstract, starting from the abstract to the conclusion. So if I am to review your paper, some reviewers can review certain aspect of the paper. But as a reviewer, you must make sure that you review every aspect of the paper from top to down. Okay, we look at what this some aspects are very interesting. The topic has policy implications, and yet the policy implications are missing in the abstract. So what it meaning that you talk of what policy implication, then you must suggest and give policy implication in the abstract as well. Remember, policy implication and policies, that is, suggestions, are not essential or easily replaceable. The terms policy implication and policy suggestions are related concepts, but they have different meaning in the context of research and policy making. So the authors have to carefully deal with this in the abstract and thoroughly, or throughout the study. So these are comments given, very strong ones. So let me go further. Let's have something like that. Clarity, as I talked about before, this reviewer is talking about what? The clarity and relevance of the research questions in the introduction need to be checked. The current introduction does not address significant and well-defined problems related to the renewable energy adoption in the country. So here we take it out so that nobody knows where the paper is being talked about, whether it's Ghana or in Nigeria or US. So that is why this thing is done. The specific antecedents influencing the renewable energy adoption in analysis are not considered in the introduction. So the topic talks about what? Antecedents influencing renewable energy, but they are missing in the introduction. The factors like high capital cost, initial investment, and lack of a robust and reliable grid, infrastructure, and the like are not the antecedents affecting renewable energy adoption in this study. Note, it is not that they are not, because these are antecedents, but in this particular study, they are not the affecting renewable energy adoption in this study. And hence, the authors should collaborate this in the study. Meaning you have to take all those things that are not. and concentrate on what are the antecedents you talked about. So we just read it briefly here. The problems identified in the introduction is different from what is examined and hence mismatch in scientific research. So statement like this, an editor can read statement like this and reject your paper because it means that it's not connected. Mismatch in scientific research, it means that there is a strong statement. It is like starting experiment on sheep, but went on to investigate goats. Wow. You hear this, right? Emphasis on the social benefit, knowledge, policy, incentive, motivation, demographics, and energy security in the introduction. These are actually what the person should talk about in the introduction. But I was talking about capital initial, but this is not what you investigated, right? So for the sake of time, I should have maybe at least 30. I will not go further because the network has messed my time. I will not go further with this comment for just to see, right? So, but what I wanted you to see is just the issues I talked about, what methodological rigor, clarity, logic, and all the things I wanted to show in this presentation here. So I will jump to the last, and I say, in conclusion, as researchers, always remember you are philosophers. Therefore, your studies from introduction to conclusion ought to be done with clarity, logical reasoning, and coherence. That is, your conclusion must be deduced from every established premise, right? Okay, many thanks for participating in this, 4-in-1 master class. And I will leave the session for the moderator to do, and maybe we'll see how many questions we can address. Thank you so much for your time and your patience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abudu. We are very grateful for this meal that you have given unto us this evening. I mean, it's something that some of us, we have been paying money for people to do for us, and we have gotten it for free this evening, which that money that we have been given to people to use for free, now we will be the one collecting the money from others. Thank you very much. On that note, I want to welcome my colleagues. If you have any question, you can bring it out, and our doctor is here, the facilitator is here, and he will clear all doubts from our mind. From the chat board, one has asked some questions and answers has been provided, but Doug, maybe I want your input on that topic or that question that one of us has asked. So the question he asked was, so let's say you are writing a paper in 2024, which year should your reference be from? Can it go as far back as 2015? This is one of the sample questions that was asked. So what is your take on that?
Yes, I think maybe the responses that are given, just to add to that, because if you're writing a paper, it is expected that you should use current references or citations. And many a times you may be using a particular model. That model has not been used for a very long time. So if you are picking an old model in order to make a modification, like I did mention of a methodological paper, So if you are doing such methodological paper and you are picking an old model in order to, validate or even add something to it, it means that you cannot use any other current citation. You will be required to use, even if it's 1800, you have to use the 1800 citation. And you must make your search very well to see to it that there are no current citation for such thing you are going to do before it can be accepted, right? You can justify why it is done, but as a norm, every researcher is advised to use current citations to make it, because you are feeling a gap. If you are feeling a gap, you must make sure that it is up to date. So this is just what I want to add to what has already been said. Thank you. Yeah, moderator.
Thank you, Doctor. Moderator, can I ask a question? I've raised my hand, or should
you can go
call me
ahead.
later? Okay, thank you very
You can
much.
go ahead.
Doctor, thank you very much for the lecture. You focus more on the paper writing. My question more related to the incidentals like the cover letter. What I've seen is that sometimes a paper gets rejected by even the cover letter that is presented to the editor. So if you can briefly tell us what should go into the cover letter. Then the second one is this issue in China regarding corresponding author. I think you have studied in China, you know that sometimes students and their professors can have issues with that. So that one, how do we handle it? Because sometimes the delay is due to the professor not replying to messages to the editor, not checking his email and all of that. And also not willing for the student to handle the paper. So when he gets there, how do we handle these matters? Thank you very much.
Yes. Please, can you state the first question again? I did not hear it clearly.
Yes, the first one is about the cover letter that is attached to the submission.
Okay.
Yeah, what should go into it?
Yes. As a matter of fact, so what goes into the cover letter is just, you are going to sell the paper. So once you are making your paper, the cover letter, see it as, a voucher, a receipt, and you are selling the paper to the editor. Make sure you use every given contribution of the paper to sell it to the editor. So it means that as you just say, maybe, dear editor, then this a paper being submitted by these authors. And once you mention the introduction, now, what do you want the editor to know? Because you have to tell the editor that this particular, paper we are writing is filling literature gap from this journal, right? Because they are, and they have, let's take it that is an issue of, say, climate change, or call it that, a particular issue that has been raised in the journal. That's why it is most important. If you are sending your paper to a particular journal, make sure that you have citation, at least 4 or 5 from that particular journal. And once you have citations from it, you will see that based on the current citations or this, there is a gap and you are filling. So you are building upon what has already been done by other works. And now make sure that it's the contributions that the paper has is what you are selling to the editor. So if the editor buys that particular idea, brother, thank you for asking this question. And I tell you, if you are doing your paper, make sure you buy the interest of the editor. Do everything to buy the interest of the editor. If the paper is being bought by the idea of the editor, it doesn't matter the number of reviewers, whatever comment they give, but the editor will make sure that this paper goes through. He will add number of reviewers to bring it to fruition. And to also talk about the issue of corresponding authors or, positions, when it comes to professor, brother, as an experience that I have, it is just that you need publication in order to get your degree. If your professor wants to take the first author and take the corresponding author, it's painful that you do a work and at the end of the day, the correspondence and the first author position is taken from you. Don't worry. I am telling you from an experience. So I cannot say it, but I'm just saying from my experience. For your degree's sake, if he wants to be the corresponding author, the first author, give to the professor, make sure that the only thing you want is that you meet your publication requirement. That is your principal goal. And do and see to it that you get that particular paper go through. Don't worry fighting for the paper for now. When you get your degree, you can also write papers on your own with others, and then there you can proceed. So, but do not have any confusion with your professor because of position in the paper. Because, sorry, let me use this statement. They are like your smaller goals. And if you do not do things well, they can frustrate your future. And always make sure that you and your professor were just like a small statement. It's like you and your girlfriend or your wife. Make sure that you have good collaboration with your professor. This is what I can tell you on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Doc. Mr. Sam, you can ask your question.
I think my hand has been up for a while.
All right. After Mr. Sam, you can ask yours.
Okay. Hi, Professor, Doctor. My question is, so I'm writing a review paper, and then I want to ask the issue of, for my understanding, I understand review paper is supposed to be based on what people have already done or what has been already been published. So in such like going through and trying to figure out things, is it allowed to because it's based on the ideas that people have already said or people have already published. So how do I go about implementing the same idea that people have already talked about, but then in my own way? Is it allowed to kind of paraphrase what they've already said into my own words? And also in the way of paraphrasing, how do I use tools or AI tools in helping in those kind of paraphrasing and stuff like that?
All right. Thank you, brother. So as you did mention of, because like I said, 2 and this wants to be 3, 2 and 3 should be a type of review that you want to do. So it means once you're doing a review paper, you must look at it. We have types of review papers for, as I said, Dr. or Professor Michael Appiah did mention it the last time. You have what? Systematic literature review or narrative literature review. But both of them fall under these two. And the meta-analysis is also a type of review you do. So here you are using, like the name implies, meta. Here you are using the authors, the information from the journal, year of publication, and you are finding thematic areas to do. And if you are doing any of these, one thing is that the literature review you are doing, first of all, you are looking for what? Areas of consensus. These are just 2 reasons why we do literature review. You are looking at areas of consensus. Maybe some people are saying that the issue is going to the right. Others are saying that the issue is going to the left. Once you do the literature review, you will find that about 40% are saying left, 60% are saying right. Now you are finding a gap. Your interest is a gap you are finding. All of them are looking at this particular direction. But now you the ability of a researcher is to find a missing link. Find the missing link. Once you have found the missing link, this also stands as your point of reference or point of research. So just find area that has been left out in all this literature, right? Once you find an area, that is what you are also using to build. For instance, if I am looking at, say, a case on maybe like I did look at what this particular paper I presented, when you go deep, a lot of them are seeing that climate change is causing, that is what carbon emission is causing climate change. Others are saying that carbon emission does not cause climate change. This altogether, right? But now what is the missing link that we are looking out for? So immediately you find the missing link. That set a stage for your paper to go. And as you are writing, don't be interested in paraphrasing what others have already said. Get the idea. Once you get the idea of what they are saying, you make sure that you write it in your own original statement. For me, for instance, when I write a paper from head to toe, I don't remember the last time I put my paper like I'm going to do turn it in. No, I've never done my paper turn it in before I even submit it to a journal. And trust me, if you go through and turn it in, I know the percentage should be less than 10. So make sure that you understand the concept they are talking about. Once you understand the concept, write it in your own language, write it in your own words. But these words must be consistent in literature and the empirical things that you are doing. So don't try to paraphrase, don't try to quote or stuff like that. The idea is the most important thing. Understand it and write it. When you do things like this, you will avoid plagiarism and all issues in your papers. You will not have problem at all. So this is what I can say briefly on it. But if maybe it is not well answered, you can maybe say a particular aspect of it, then I come again. Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe your question has been answered. Mr. Dad or Mr. Da, please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Thank you very much, moderator. Doc, thanks so much. It's been an insightful education, and I have really benefited a lot. I need you to advise me, being an expertise in this area. I have some papers published in Elsevier journals. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Good. So I have some papers published in Elsevier journals, but then I had masters then. So I think even for some time now, I keep on getting a notification to review. Honestly, if I check my emails, a lot of invitations, some from the Elsevier journals, of which I have been a beneficiary already. But I was having a notion, at times I look at the topic and I'm having a notion that, see, I'm now charting a new field. By God's grace, I'm now doing my PhD. And actually, it's quite a new area from my master's studies. So those invitations are geared towards my previous publications. I mean, around that research area. But here am I now looking at a different research area altogether, now even struggling to understand things myself. So I felt like it's sort of a worry to me. I do not answer most of the email invitations that has come to me. Having listened to you this evening, I think I have repented. So how do I respond to the editors who has been sending me invitations? And part of my reason actually is that, I was not affiliated to an institution. And the form that gives you, you are supposed to state your position, your institution, and other stuff. When I see them addressing me, Dr. Des, I laugh because I am now doing the PhD. These are many more reasons has made me turn down reviewing offers upon offers, of which some are currently sitting in my emails. Please, I need your expertise advice. Thank you.
Yeah, just to go quick to that. Now, when you are reviewing every paper, one, you have to also consider yourself first, right? Like you said, you are charting a new path. Just the best answer I can give is that you have to try to, marry the two. Just you can review few of the papers coming from your previous area, but now concentrate more if you get review in your new area, because the more papers you read in your new area will expand your horizon to know things that you are doing, right? So just keep on reviewing papers that are coming from your new area, but do less of that one, because we are all part of what? The review process, because if you review it, you will help somebody to go faster, maybe in graduation or getting the person's requirement. So try to marry the two, just take few of them. That's why as a PhD candidate now, don't put so much review on you. It will burden you, because the time limit that is expected of you, if you can't meet it, it means that you will not do a good review. Just accept, maybe in a month, you can say in a month, I will review 2 papers every month if they come, not more than that. So don't overburden yourself, but concentrate on your new area if papers come from that. So this is what I can say. Yes.
But please, the second part you did not answer.
Yeah.
Truth is that I have virtually turned down. I've not responded to all the emails. Reminders keep coming. I just pretend like I've not seen the email. So now, how do I respond to the editors? Also, if you get a paper to be reviewed, and maybe you are not in a position to do that, how do you respond to editors? That aspect was not captured in your presentation.
Okay.
And
yes.
so
the best way, you have what? I do not want, you have what? Thank you for the invitation, maybe to review this particular paper. However, at the moment, I'm constrained with time, or I do not have expertise in this area. Not necessarily that you do not have expertise, but it's just to let the paper go, because they have to do analysis. People, if you reject, what is the comment? No expertise. If you reject, maybe I do not have time, they do this analysis to see reviewers on it. So that is just what I can say on it. So, and those people, just respond to them. You are constrained with time, or you do not have expertise, and that will end it. Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello?
All right.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Can I speak?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, please. You can be heard.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hermas, for the insightful lecture you gave to us. I want to ask 2 questions. The first one is, if you do not have publication, can you be a reviewer as a PhD student? You don't have any publication to your name. Can you be a reviewer? And secondly, what is the importance of reviews to academics? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, my big brother. Yes, if you do not have a paper, as a matter of fact, one, you, for your own integrity, you can just be rejecting the papers, because you do not think you have adequate knowledge in the area in order to assess, because some of those papers are coming from top professors, and you do not have a paper and you go and review the person's paper. as a matter of fact, your objectivity or this thing will be less. Or even if you are doing, you don't have in-depth knowledge to do it. The best you do is just reject. I do not have the expertise. And some people do not have papers, but they have adequate knowledge in the area. If you do not have a paper, if we have lecturers who do not have papers, but they have adequate knowledge in the area, so you can do it, you can do a review, right? So, but first of all, always think of the person's integrity. And will you do a good job if I accept this paper? That is what you have to do in order to handle the first thing. And the second aspect you talked about is, do you remind me on that? Just quick.
The importance of what is the
Good.
essence of review tool?
Right.
Review tool.
Yeah. Review is an important process in academia and research. The more papers you review, it expands your horizon to know about things. You have never written a paper in an area, but once you read, because one thing is that you do not even understand a methodology, but because you are reviewing a paper, you have to go and read yourself to understand that particular thing in order to review the paper. So it means that the review is a learning process. It helps you to learn even more than the classroom or what your professor or other people might teach you. So it's a self-educating venture, and it is very important. If you are doing a review, every reviewer is very expanded. Yes, they do a lot of work. So if it comes, you can use it to help yourself, broaden yourself. And even currently, reviewers are now even recognized in some papers. They will state your name in it. So if they put your name that you have reviewed this number of papers, it's a credit to you, which can be put in your CV or any other profile. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Doug. Because of time, I think we will not be taking any other questions because we have run out of time.
Indeed.
So on that note, I want to welcome Mr. Mattison to do a quick presentation on citation for us. Mr. Mattison, if you can hear me, please take.